everybody, and welcome to tonight's coverage of the NASCAR Class C Maconi Fixed Series. This evening, we're excited to bring you top split action for the weekly strength of field race for the virtual Circuit of the Americas. Maconi Entertainment is here to bring you action from all types of racing, with the top split for this series and Fast Fridays. No matter what you're racing, we can bring the action to life. My name is Justin Prince. Alongside me, the booth for tonight is Ron Mons. DJ Line is working the controls as a producer, using cameras provided by Whiplash Sim Cams. Tonight is the season finale, and to say the very least, it's going to be an interesting night. We're at COTA, Ron, which means these drivers are ready to go left and right here in Texas.
And they're going to be running at an interesting circuit too. Circuit of the Americas as is an absolutely fine motorsports facility. One of the first that really pops into my mind as well when you think of racetracks that have hosted just about every single discipline of motorsports you could possibly imagine. It's an odd way to bring this season to a close, running on a really odd circuit, the West version, a little bit different from the one that NASCAR used this past weekend. You got that small little diddly chicane separating that small little cut through of this fantastic racetrack, but it's still going to be a wonderful race to bring this season to a close.
It'll be a fun night to see how these drivers close out the campaign here from COTA. Let's take a look at the points entering this week, and this may be potentially how it goes depending on what happens with the drops. Jonathan Evans, J-Bo, 1 point difference. You also have Anthony Burrows within 50 points. Blake Ray in fourth. Jonathan Tuckness, the top five. Jaco Phillips is in the race tonight, looking to try and jump his tally up a little bit. Parent Huggins, Eli Carter, Jody Kelton, and Joe Armstrong amongst the top 10. That is razor-thin margins up at the top of the board, to say the very least. Those drivers not in the entry list tonight, Ron, but these drivers in the field tonight, ready to see if they can finish out the year strong.
Yeah, finish off this season as best as you possibly can. It's good to start the season on as best of a note that you can imagine, but it's also really important to end this season on a really good note. These drivers are going to be looking to try and be fast in their future racing endeavors. You really want to have a good night here this evening, and these drivers up and down the grid certainly looking to do that here at COTA.
Looking at qualifying, as this is Gabriel Bucklier. He is currently trying to be one of 17 drivers in the session. Put themselves towards the board. Jaco Phillips just got pipped by near second by eNASCAR driver Parker White. For his road course prowess as well, with Williams Esports is at the top of the board. The 2 truck in the 138 second bracket, already of 3.5-4 second spread in qualifying.
Yeah, and starting to see the challenge of this racetrack come out already. I briefly mentioned it as we did our open here, JP. But just talking about this racetrack as we see Parker White sliding it, heading off through the S's, then diving down into the infield section. You can see that quick chicane. The drivers in NASCAR did not have to use that this past weekend. However, you can see him slideways onto the back straightaway. Gonna lose it. It felt like he was sideways for the past 15 seconds as we were following Parker White in that number 1 truck. But this circuit, a real intriguing test of these driver skills. Not the usual COTA layout, running on that shortened West version, 2.6 miles in length, 17 corners in all, and that midsection coming out of the S's and right through that small little short chute section. You've got 4 corners packed into the span of what feels like 1/10 of a mile. So it is real twiddly heading through certain parts of this racetrack.
Yeah, that's going to make it potentially very rhythmistic in terms of needing to drop this racetrack, but also could mean potentially some difficulty to battle unless you can force a mistake here tonight. Still waiting as the rest of the drivers finish up qualifying. Over 2.5 minutes to go, just under 2:20 in fact now in the session. Trevor Davis amongst the latest drivers to set a time, and still going for some extra practice time of the 1:42s. A lot of people going to be thinking about track position possibly here on as well. How would you describe that need for track position at a track where it might be hard to go from back to front in just 13 laps?
Track position is going to be massive. This qualifying session may be one of the most important for the entirety of this season for the drivers in this series. They want to have the best time that they possibly can. Start this race meeting off on the best foot as you can possibly imagine, as we see Trevor Davis sliding it, spinning it, heading through. That is at the end of the back straightaway, heading off into turn number 10. But getting back to the point that I was going to raise, super important to have a good starting spot, be able to hit the ground running in this race. If you start this race from a pole and you put on enough of a defensive drive, you can find yourself leading the entirety of this race. Super important to try and get the best time in that you can imagine.
Absolutely. Let's keep an eye on Maconi here. And mind you, too, talking about the track characteristics here, going to be important to make sure you're careful on the throttle with these trucks. Didn't run here in real life this week, but these drivers going to potentially have to battle what we've already seen, lose conditions for the trucks themselves in terms of setup feel on the throttle. Maconi being very careful here, just trying to set a clean time.
Yeah, you can see him dancing his way around this racetrack, heading through one of the most iconic corners of this track. That's turn 14 and 15 that I just went through a couple of moments ago. It's marked as 2 corners. It really feels like 4, and for some cars, it even just feels like 1. You can see these drivers in this qualifying session dancing around the track as best as they possibly can. But are they dancing around the track with the grace of a ballet dancer, or are they trying to go through here without slipping and falling like my experience ice skating? That's the real thing that these drivers are going to have to figure out, being confident in the way they can tackle this racetrack and also go around this race circuit feeling confident and not having to walk around on eggshells in this race we have coming up.
Qualifying's come to a close. 17 drivers in the session. In the end, 12 drivers were able to put up times in qualifying. Let's take a look how they'll go row by row. Parker White starts on the pole tonight, setting the pole time by near 9/10 of a second over an Elliott Sauer Esports driver Jake O. Phillips. Then row number 2, Alec Duffin starts in the inside. Then it's Buchleier in the outside spot in 4th position. Charles Wembley starts in 5th alongside Andrew Precor. Then row number 4 will feature the 10 truck of Gavin Gleitzman, and Jeff Maconi starts in 8th. Rounding out your top 10 starting positions tonight, Trevor Davis and Luke Barnett is in the top 10.
And look at who the drivers that we got starting outside the top 10. It starts with Peter Hope in the number 12 truck starting in 11th. Maddox Beard going to join him on that 6th row. Looking right behind them, we have Thomas Edwards starting this race in 13th. Next is Steven Hendricks starting in 14th. Looking at the drivers that we have starting right behind them, we have Horatio Mendez-Torres starting this race in the number 11 truck in P15. Christopher Miller will join him on that row. And then looking right behind them, completing your field, we have Alex Bisson in the number 15 truck starting in P17.
That's all top to bottom at the running order here tonight in this race. So we get ready to go racing from Austin, Texas. Now, touching upon your Maconi setup shop race analysis for tonight, as mentioned, 13 laps. No caution flags on the road courses. Green, white checkers usually if there is that case. Now, remember, there is an incident limit to think about. 17 incident limit points, and you potentially get yourself a drive-through penalty. If you reach 25, you get disqualified. So you have to think about the track limits here. You can't just cut every corner and hope for the best.
Yeah, I'm getting flashbacks to the Cup race this past weekend where the interpretation of the track limits rules were creative, shall we say, but these drivers gonna have to dance around very carefully in this race that we have coming up. Avoid any major car contact, avoid picking up those 1Xs like their Pokemon cards, and just try and go about this race as cleanly as they possibly can. To finish first you have to finish. I've seen that in a fortune cookie before, and that not only applies to having a clean race and not getting caught up in anyone else's mess, but also keeping keen on those incident point limits.
Your favorite for tonight's race, no surprise, it's the 1 truck. Keep an eye on how much Parker White can grow this gap on the field. Whenever we've gone to Coda the past couple of years, he has been a rocket ship when it comes to this road course. He'll control the field over Jaco Phillips. Happy to have you with us here on iRacing social media platforms. Maconi Entertainment, green flag waves. We're underway from Coda. And Parker White is gone already by almost, if not a full second. A great launch for him as the rest of the field rumbles for the battle for second. Dauphin takes the spot from Phillips. Everyone else gets through cleanly.
And Parker White getting off to a flyer in that one truck. That was an unbelievable start. I'm not sure if he just caught the P2 runner just lacking at the very start of that race or what, but that was an insane start for Parker White, currently leading and nearly extending that gap over a second and a half, heading through the mid-sector right now. This is a Titan Twisties, as I'll be referring to them all throughout tonight. That 6, 7, 8, and 9 section, super tricky to try and get right in these less than agile trucks as side-by-side racing, heading down and around a bowling into 10.
Gavin Gleitzman going around that time from the lunge. A little bit deep in terms of the send. Gleitzman also turning down on the send from Andrew Precor. Let's take a look at the replay, our first incident of the race.
And let's see, you can see it all started with a little bit of stacking up coming out of that Titan Twisty section. Now on the small little flat out blast on this back straightaway, back on the brakes, and it starts behind him. Bang, that 4 truck comes in, barreling through. Just nowhere for that 10 truck to try and avoid that collision. Unfortunate for them, they now find themselves second to last is Gleitzman, only in front of Steven Hendricks, who I think got involved in drama of his own in that number 16 truck. As here's Bisson running a little bit wide, coming out the second to last corner of turn 16. He's gotten off to a flyer from last. He's now finding himself in 12th at the end of this first lap.
Yeah, a lot of people gaining some spots here. +5 for him, for Miller, and Mendez Torres so far in this race. That's only on the first lap alone here. A -7 for Gavin Gleitzman on the first lap. Let's take a look at Jeff Maconi, currently running in the 7th position. And so far trying to battle with Precor. These drivers 6 seconds back of the leader in their own pack, essentially the 3rd grouping on track.
And we're already starting to see these breakout packs begin to form. Whenever we see something like this, I like to refer to it as a peloton more than anything else. Seeing these drivers break away and have their own little groups, for lack of a better term, heading their way around this racetrack. These drivers forming their own cliques as it stands currently. I think that's breaking out the thesaurus for that one. Is side-by-side racing heading down into turn number 11. Look at that, the 2 truck of Bouclair trying to get that move done on Charles Wembley and gets it done successfully to slip his way up to 4th.
Yeah, some people making some passes here, trying to get some early track position in this battling. Wembley slipping on back here, going a little bit wider coming out of the arena section with how things are faring out here. Coming up to 11 laps to work. By the way, how has Parker White gone so far in terms of pace? Well, how about near 3.5 seconds in 2 laps? He's kind of showcasing why he was expected to, well, put on a performance like this. Fastest lap.
Yeah, Parker White, I'm not sure what it is with that number 1 truck, saying a 137.002 a couple of moments ago as he crossed the line, but that 1 truck is an indomitable force very early on into this race, so a lot of racing left to go, but for Parker White, it has been as close to a dream start as he could possibly get. A massive cushion, teetering now over 4 seconds to Jaco Phillips, and I gotta say, considering in this small little spiel that I'm in the midst of right now, JP, the fact that gap has gone up by nearly 2 seconds, certainly by a half a second, heading his way off through the S's and the Titan Twisties. I think Parker White in that 1 truck, he is so confident heading off through the corners around here.
Extremely confident, to say the very least. Gleitzman has made up some lost ground. Make the pass on Beard. Keeping an eye and seeing how some of these drivers make their way to the track. You can see some of the people just trying to get a grip of things, making sure, though, they can't afford to cook the tires. That if they cook these tires early, they are done for the rest of the way.
Oh yeah, you would be screwed, for lack of a better term, if you cook the tires so early on into this race. You're going to find yourself in a boatload of hurt as side-by-side racing. Contact being made, heading down. That's through another tight and twisty section to turn 13. Lucky number, turn 13. Catching out Barnett a little bit. Actually, my apologies. That's not Barnett. It's contact being made, and Maddox Beard spinning off the track.
Oh, wow. Ended up going right through the bumper there, Gleitzman did. Sending off Maddox Beer. Let's take a look. My goodness.
It all started heading down into turn 13. You could see the dive from the 17 truck, the 10 turning in. Not very happy about that, I'm sure, getting booted out of the way and getting side hustled off. And there you can see using up that bumper quite a lot. It's a maneuver that you'd see at Martinsville more than anything else. I don't think the 10 truck got away with that rather scot-free either. He did a half spin along with that 17 truck going off. So a move that you'd see at Martinsville being done here in Austin.
And not expected there, to say the very least, I think. Absolutely. Take a look at one of the packs grouped together at the moment. Davis, Edwards, Mendez, Torres, all grouped together. Kind of see where the rhythm really settles on in. One mistake, though, it opens the door for passes, such as this one. Edwards to the inside. Trevor Davis trying to keep it alongside. Will lose the spot. Mendez Torres not able to take advantage from the left. Always trying, though.
Oh my God, they're nearly going 3 wide. Hang off into turn number 11. Look at this slide, though, from Davis coming out of the corner.
A little bit of a nervous moment for Mendez Torres. Able to find the track as Christopher Miller also had a chance to make a pass. Andrew Bisson is also closed up to this group. With how things are looking so far, more off tracks, the 6 going wide. All these drivers making mistakes here.
Yeah, I think no one outside of the exception of Parker White, but at this point he's in a league of his own, so I'm not sure if we should really count him. Everyone hasn't had a clean race up to this point. Everyone's sliding around the track. Everyone's made a little bit of contact with each other, and hey, it's truck racing on a road course. You're going to see contact like we just saw between those two trucks coming out of the final corner. The 11 and the 13 side by side. The 15 of Bisson going to give a helpful bump to Christopher Miller. However, he may try and look for a move heading off into turn number 1. Not close enough, as you can see that, contact being made. Big bump from the 11 to the 13.
That damaged Miller's truck. We'll see if that's going to impact the handling on the left rear. He's already a little bit twitchy from that contact. Keep on rumbling as 2 drivers hit the turtles. A huge hit to the turtles by Trevor Davis in this pack as well. And that's the one thing through those S's that people seem to forget. Those curbs will really eat up this truck. And if you don't do well in that section, probably leaves you vulnerable for the arena section potentially right here.
And as they enter into the arena section, that was a rather slick move from the number 13 of Christopher Miller, getting that moved on Trent Davis, heading down into turn number 10. Meanwhile, side-by-side racing with the 15 and the 11 coming out of the corner. Look at the slide from Alex Bisson in that 15 truck. He started this race in P17 and last, and he's made his way up through the field like a hot knife through butter. Now finds himself side-by-side yet again with Mendez Torres coming out of turn number 13 through 14. Look at that number 11 truck sideways, slideways, heading through this corner. This is some risky stuff with both of these racers, and you brought up a very good point there, JP, talking about those killer turtle curbs around this racetrack. They can chew up and spat out these race cars.
We've already seen a few people getting chewed up indeed by them. Also pumping and painting. Mendez Torres. Owen Bisson nearly cleared himself. Here comes Gleitzman making it 3 wide on the squeeze. Mendez Torres squeezes the 15. Both of them try and back up, but it's Bisson carrying momentum as Gleitzman passes them both.
That was super sketchy heading down into turn number 1. I thought they were going to all go off in a cloud of dust and steam, but they avoided it. Not entirely sure how. I'm not even sure those drivers know exactly how they avoided that, but nevertheless, single filed out, heading off through the S's. It's Gleitzman in front of Bisson, in front of Mendez Torres. Mendez Torres in the number 11 in truck, maybe going to allow the 15 and 10 right in front of him to go side by side, and when they come to blows, he's probably going to say, hey, thank you very much. I'll take these spots down the inside. Is Bisson Bissett heading down into turn number 10, trying to get the move done into turn 10 on the 10 truck. He's not close enough, though. Gleisman still holding his own around the outside, now turning into the inside line through 11. These two are giving us a dogfight to talk about in the mid-pack.
Yeah, Gleisman really defensive this time. Bisson tries to go for the send. Goes alongside on the curbing, gives a lot of space on corner exit. Gleisman has the preferred line, though, to be able to defend well, and we have a spinner. Someone loose, and it's Trevor Davis, who just got crashed into by Gleisman. 15 goes wide to avoid the contact, but not avoiding it was Gleisman.
Now we're going to take a look at a replay of this to see what happened. That 9 truck heading his way down into turn number 13 right now. Everything's looking good. He's running by himself, so I got to imagine this was possibly a self-inflicted spin unless he missed a shift. No, looks fine. Immediately sideways as soon as he turns into turn 14, trying to drift, and bang! Into the back of him is that 10 truck. More contact being made as a 9 truck is way wiggly, trying to get back, turn around in the right direction. Unfortunate for both of those cars, Gleisman with just about nowhere to go in that 10 truck. May need to take a look at another replay of that. That had to have been the jump scare to end all jump scares for Kevin.
Yeah, that was not in the plans, to say the very least. Still keeping an eye on this battle pack for the top 10 still. It's one of the closest battle packs on track. Christopher Miller still leads this respective pack for the time being. Last time by, these drivers ran in the 1 minute 43 second bracket. Right now, Miller is on eggshells with throttle at the moment.
Yeah, you can see these drivers still dancing around the racetrack, and at this point, JP, we got to start thinking about the way that these drivers have managed their tires thus far into the race. Have some of these drivers cooked them? Is that part of the reason why we're seeing these trucks become even more woolly handlers than they usually already are? A lot of stuff that these drivers are probably already thinking about at this point, but I think tire management and how that has been dealt with in the early stages of this race, we're starting to rear its head.
Yes, absolutely. Let's look at some of the other battles on tracks such as this one. It's Precor, it's Maconi involved in this one. Maconi showing the nose, Precor getting a little bit loose. That forces side by side as the Ford truck tries to hold on to it to the right side of the racetrack. Maconi holding on to the left side of the circuit. It looks like he'll clear. Maconi moves up into 6th spot.
And the boss man getting the move done, heading off through the opening section of corners right now. Finds himself in 6th as it stands at the present moment. It's definitely a gap to surmount if he wants to try and get a move done on Charles Wimbley to break his way up into the top 5. So it looks like these two are going to be the ones to keep our eyes on in terms of battles in the mid-pack. Think there's a swaparoo with Luke Barnett and Peter Hopp a couple of moments ago. Maddox Beard down in pit lane after that incident we saw him involved in earlier on the number 17 truck. Peter Hope is currently the last of the cars on the lead lap, as Stephen Kendricks in the number 16 car has not gone off to a very good start in that number 16 truck, currently 1 lap down in 16th.
Checking back into the leader, coming up now, 5 laps to go at the stripe. Right now the lead about 7 seconds already, has already lapped at least 2 trucks. He's been on cruise control since the start of this one, just needs to keep it clean for another few more minutes. Let's take a lap with him and just follow on board here. Just see how smooth he is on the movement.
That is beautiful. That is, look at how delicate he is on the wheel. Occasionally in a race, you could just see drivers huck it into the corner, seesawing at that steering wheel all the time. Parker White, you don't even see him counter steering coming out of these corners. All 4 of those wheels are planted. And reminder, folks, this is a fixed series. This is not a matter of setup. This is a matter of driving prowess for a driver who's clearly very comfortable in a condition like this, running this truck around this road course. That was the first little bit of counter steer I saw coming out of turn number 11. But Parker White expertly negotiating this racetrack.
Yeah, very much perfect through the movements, perfect through the corners. Not too hard on the throttle, just knows the limits on what he needs to do to push, showing why he is a driver with William Esports, not just in the Coke Series, but also with the road course program when it comes to sports cars, to be able to battle in those cars. His truck continues to grow the gap over Jake Phillips. With 4 laps to go, he is well on his way to victory by at least 2 corners. By the way, some of the air groupings at the moment, for those that are wondering, we're starting to see some separation build apart in them at the moment. So, this is one of the closer battles still forming up. The 2 trucks still trying to keep up with Duffin for third.
And looking at this battle as it stands currently, it's not a battle, it's definitely a chase down though. Heading down into turn number 1, the 3 truck about to, I would probably judge that to be about 5-6-ish car lengths. Definitely building up a little bit coming out of turn number 1, heading down the hill, off through the S's as well. I want to raise 1 point to you, JP, seeing these trucks drive around the S's. Maybe it's just my background, considering the first races I saw at Circuit of the Americas was Formula 1 running here, and this wasn't even in the high downforce era. It was back in 2015 and 2016. Seeing the trucks run around there and the back end of the car get oh so sideways, and seeing these drivers whack the curbs, I'm looking at it, I'm like, this just looks like a heck of a lot of fun, seeing these cars negotiate this racetrack as they have. Certainly frustrating if you get it wrong, but fun when you get it right.
Very fun when you get it right, absolutely. Still peeking at some of the drivers here, coming to 3 laps to go. And the thing I'm noticing with a lot of these drivers is some of them are very much keeping it in the high gear too. Instead of risking things, they're being very cautious on the throttle compared to Parker White, who's been a bit more, well, lower gear in some of these sections where he's more confident with the throttle movement. Some of these drivers just have different approaches to where some of them are just trying to get through the race cleanly without major mistake.
Yeah, and these drivers all have their own different approaches in terms of how to tackle race as cleanly as you possibly can. You see some drivers just assigned to run it a little bit smooth, others kind of attacking it. I can honestly understand both sides of it, JP. I think we've done enough iRacing events where we've probably seen this go down, where a driver running really comfortable at the front of the field, then they probably think, okay, I find myself in a situation right now where I can maybe start to back out of it a bit, and then as soon as they back out of it and aren't going at 100%, that's the time where they have an off-track excursion. I think that's happened in broadcasts that the both of us have done, JP, so I think some of these drivers, in terms of the ones that are still pushing it to the absolute limit of control, even though there are only a couple of laps left to go, I think they are maybe trying to avoid the other pitfalls that I raised a couple of moments ago.
They're just trying to get to the end of this point. We have had 4 trucks park their machines so far. Peter Hopp, along with Steven Hendricks, Menes Torres, and Beard have all parked their machines for the checker flag with how the races have gone. Looking at the most positions gained, by the way, Bisson's gained the most. He's got 8 gained. Christopher Miller up 6. And then after that, Jeff Maconi up a couple. You have Thomas Edwards that's gone up 5 spots as well. Most of the other drivers in the field were able to maintain their track position, coming to 2 laps to go for many of these drivers now. Parker White's already taken it.
See these drivers coming out of turn number 15 into turn 16, which is always a corner that I feel like I can never get right whenever I'm running around here. It's in that medium speed window whereby you kind of have to, you definitely have to use up those track limits on the exit, which is a luxury that the real life drivers got allotted compared to these sim racing drivers trying to avoid those incident point limits and all of that stuff. These drivers have had to walk around this racetrack on eggshells ever since the drop of the green flag. But we're coming to the end of this race, I gotta say, JP, we've certainly seen our incidents here and there, but a rather low attrition rate from this race at COTA.
Yeah, it's gone by quickly. It's gone by calmly with only a couple incidents here and there. Feel just about ready to finish things on up here in the next couple moments or so. Here on iRacing Maconi Entertainment still. Charles Wembley trying to put on a battle here. Looking for a way to poke his way around, trying to steal away one more spot. Coming up to the white flank this time.
And the white flag in the air for Parker White, and for him, he finds his white flag not only with the honors of holding on to the fifth lap of the race currently, but with a 13.5-second gap between himself and Jake Phillips. Not actually there, but it's close enough. We can call it as is. Still a massive gap for Parker White. Has a big cushion to find himself resting on at the end of this race, as this fight with Bouclier and Charles Wembley going to be tight right to the line. They're on the white flag lap now, and let's see how it's going to shake out between these two. I have a good feeling about Wembley. I think he's starting to be a little bit antsy in that 7 truck.
Oh, he's showing the nose a little bit, got blocked off. Forced to weeble wobble a little bit as he regroups. Looking to reshuffle as he gets all lined back up. Couple more chances at best for him to be able to go for a send here if he wants to take away a spot.
You can see those two shuffling, dancing with each other, heading down into the braking zone of turn number 1. I have a feeling that we may see a dive from Wembley heading down into turn number 10. But for Parker White, he only has a few more corners left to go to bring that one truck home.
Parker White started off this race setting the pole time by nearly a second. Was able to pull away very quickly. Kind of showcased why. Whenever he's on a road course, he's very strong. Charles Wembley takes away a spot as the 2 spins it out on the final lap. Parker White will come to the final corner to take the checker flag. Parker White wins at Coda.
And what a drive from him to get it done, saying the fastest lap of the race, building that gap. He nearly built up a 2-second gap about 10 corners into this race. That is absolute insanity. Parker White, certainly the driver of the day by far. As you mentioned, JP, that fight between Wembley and Bouclier going to end with Wembley ending up in 4th. Not sure if there's any sort of extracurricular contact that spun the number 2 truck and gave that 7 truck P4 or what. Either way, though, Wembley crossing the line to finish this race in P4, and Parker White with a textbook drive here at Circuit of the Americas.
Look at the rest of the battles as these drivers finish things out. Sex Machine, Thomas Edwards watches Bisson slide. Foul up the first half of the field, crossing the stripe. Others like Miller looks to finish up solidly. Gavin Gleitzman will finish just behind him by about 3 seconds. The last finisher in this race will be Trevor Davis, looking to just tiptoe the truck home after having some contact and having damage built up on the 9. He'll finish off this race in 12, but it's Parker White who's drifting his way around the circuit and just spun around while trying to celebrate the win.
I mean, we're going to give him the style points, though, in that 1 truck. Let's see this drift. I can imagine those rear tires are going to be burned down to the canvas by the time he heads his way off onto that start-finish straightaway in a couple of moments. Look at that. Let's see. Still hits the apex through turn number 13. Parker White, this is sliding around the corner. Hey, after doing what he did in this race, I think he earned a little bit of drift time. I mean, his rear tire is not going to be happy with him in the slightest, but Parker White certainly going to be happy about the drive that he put on today. And you gotta say, JP, some pretty nice drifting from the 1 truck.
Yeah, he's just having fun in the midst of celebration at this point. All the way to the sand trap this time in the midst of his burnout as he completes the lap. The winning margin, by the way, 14.3 seconds for Parker White tonight. Let's take a break. We come back. Post-race results and post-race coverage. You're watching iRacing social media platforms and Maconi Entertainment for coverage of the Maconi Fixed Series.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. both go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
When you want to be the best, you can't settle for the rest. For anything on iRacing, there's just one name you need: Maconi.
With the launch of Maconi Entertainment and Maconi Competizone alongside Maconi Setup Shop, we now provide the best of the best in setups, paint schemes, coaching, broadcasting, and event organization.
With cars across all 4 license classes, we have what you need to hit the track with confidence. Grab a subscription and save money while going fast at MaconiSetupShop.com/subscriptions.
And remember, at Maconi Setup Shop, there are setups, but your victories.
Welcome back, everyone, to tonight's coverage from COTA here on iRacing Maconi Entertainment, coverage of the Maconi Fixed Series. As we get ready to talk things over with their top 3, let's take a look at your official in-sim race results. Parker White over Jaco Phillips and Alec Daffin tonight. Charles Wimbley and Gabriel Buchleier were in the top 5. Jeff Maconi finished in 6th, with Andrew Precor in 7th. Alex Bisson in 8th, Thomas Edwards in 9th, and Christopher Miller rounded out your top 10 run.
Then looking through the final few drivers we have classified at the end of this race, it starts with Gavin Geltzman in the number 10 car. Gleitzman, my apologies, in the number 10 truck, ends up finishing this race in P11. Trevor Davis is class right behind in 12th. Luke Barnett in P13. Peter Hope in 14th. Horatio Mendez-Torres ends up classified in 15th. Stephen Hendrickson 16th. Maddox Beard in the number 17 truck is classed in P17. Lots of the drivers towards the end did not take the checker flag, but those are your results from the final official race of this season.
Top 3 is standing on by. Let's get the chance to talk with some of those drivers right now. Parker White putting on a dominating performance tonight. And Parker, well, first things first, how do you feel about the truck on the way to winning by 14 seconds?
Yeah, the truck here feels amazing. Ever since 2021, the first year we were here at COTA, the trucks at COTA have been one of my favorite car track combos. So I knew I'd have to come out tonight and run this one. And as always, the truck felt amazing. I've always just really liked the flow, the way you get down through the S's with the truck specifically. Of course, any other car is fun at COTA as well, but just something about the truck just feels really good going down through the S's. You hit it really well, nice and consistent. Was a bit different this year. Obviously, we got the West layout. I actually do kind of like this layout. I do miss the old one, but that whole like going down through the S's, cutting across the track to the west section, that whole track is just it's a lot of fun. Just 13 lap race, it went by pretty quick with the new layout, but yeah, generally it's just about keeping the tires on it. Was really able to do that just by keeping it in second gear and most of the slow speed corners and not burning the rear tires off too much, and was able to bring it home again this week.
Now, of course, as well, you're coming off a race in the NASCAR Coca iRacing Series at Interlagos last night. How would you describe that feeling of being at Brazil after now experiencing that race and also having a photo finish trying to battle for fourth spot with Casey Kerwin?
Yeah, that race last night went a lot better than I thought it was going to after my qualifying lap. I was pretty confident going into that race, and we got to the qualifying session. The track temp was way colder than we've been testing in. So I went into turn 1 thinking we'd have grip, and I just completely missed it. I somehow managed to lose 4/10 in turn 1 on my qualifying lap. So I was thinking in my mind after that, like, I'll have to dig myself out of a hole, probably going to be starting like P25 or something. But I ended up qualifying 10th. And if I wouldn't have lost that 4/10, I would have been on the pole. And with the top 8 number, I would have been just starting in 8th, just one row in front anyway. So at the end of the day, luckily it didn't affect me too much. I was able to make my way through that traffic and have a pretty good race there with Casey at the end. And it was overall a fun race.
Well, thank you very much for the time, Parker. Congratulations once again on the run here tonight.
Thank you, Justin. Appreciate it, guys.
Parker White coming away with the win. Jaco Phillips coming away second. He's with Ron.
Hey, Jake, welcome into the commentary booth, and well done on the run here at Circuit of the Americas. How about you talk us through this race that we just saw?
It was a bit of a struggle, to be honest. I admittedly got caught sleeping on the start, and it's just been tough to get a handle on the fit setup this week. And once you get caught in a position like I was, where I had to battle my way back from third to second and already lost a couple seconds to Parker, it's just tough because you burn up the tires, and when you burn up the tires, it's so hard to cool them back down. And I'd already ruined them, so there was no real running them down. So I expected a little bit better of myself, but when you're going up against Parker White, second isn't bad.
I gotta say, though, overall, it was a very valiant effort for you. When you've got an alien running in the race, you can't expect to beat the Martian and building a UFO properly. So I'm just gonna ask you about some of the challenges that drivers up and down the grid, including yourself, faced throughout this race. What do you think was the hardest part about trying to do well in this event? Was it the point you raised about managing tires, or was it more so about managing the track and all the difficulties that's baked into it?
Well, I mean, the track isn't an issue. If anybody has seen me race, I love COTA. I've ran it back from my F1 esports days to, since I've joined iRacing. It's a really fun track. I mean, is it a little technical? Yeah, but I mean, it's an absolute blast, and especially with it being short in this with the West layout now. It's not as difficult, not as tricky, but there's less margin for error, so that definitely comes into play. But like you said, you nailed it. It's a situation where it's special with this setup, with the fit setup, that if you burn up the tires, or you run them a little too hard, or you just get the tire temps too up, there's no real coming back. And it's just a product of it. That's road course racing in general with a stock car. But it's it makes it more challenging too, because I mean you got to manage that, and that's something you usually don't have to do with the trucks. So.
Well, certainly a race unlike any other, and awesome to get your perspective on how it was from your perspective all throughout this race. Jake, thank you so much for joining us in the commentary booth. But before we let you go and celebrate this P2 result here at Circuit of the Americas tonight, is there anyone you want to give a thanks to or shout out?
Yeah, mega shout out to the boys back at Elliott Sadler Esports. Ever since they picked me up late last year, it's just been a lot of learning, a lot of growing. So got to thank all the guys, Jared Carr, James Morris, Chris Robertson, David Robertson, Mullins, all of them boys. They've been helping me out a lot, and they know these road courses are my bread and butter. They're the things I love to do, and I'm trying to help them out over there on that, and trying to have them teach me how to drive an oval.
Awesome, man. Well, congratulations on the P2 result here in this race this evening. Excited to see you back out on the track wherever it is in the not too distant future, man. Thank you for joining us.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank y'all for all y'all do.
As Jaco Phillips coming away in second spot. Alec Deffin rounding out the top three, standing on by here. Alec, how would you describe your race from your perspective?
It was definitely unexpected, Justin. Going in, I wanted to just finish like 8th or better in the top half of the field, and then to qualify third. At that point, I was like, hey, maybe we can get top 5. And then on the start, got to second for a brief moment. Then tried to hold off Jake, but he was too fast for me there. And then kind of had a sloppy first lap, and then we settled in. And guys, me and Gabriel and all of them, they definitely kept me on my toes. So, had to be on it. But other than that, it was pretty straightforward. And yeah, we were fast. I mean, I'm usually faster in the trucks, but race like this, I thought I was going to get smoked. And yeah, had fun out there.
Overall, though, how tricky was the combination to make sure you kept the grip underneath you? We've seen a lot of people slipping and sliding.
It didn't seem like it was as tricky as it normally is. Like, for me on road courses, usually I struggle with managing the rear tires. And like, this is on my second race I ran here this week. My first race was good. I won and kept the tires under it. And same thing here. So, I mean, obviously, like, tire spin's always going to be a thing. And some people probably had trouble with it. But overall, for me, it wasn't too bad.
Overall, though, how would you describe your season in this series?
We're pretty good. I've only been on for the last couple of weeks because I took like a 2-month break, and obviously last week wasn't so hot on the broadcaster race when left out Nick Olson, so sorry to him for that. And Atlanta, Daytona, we got taken out on those ones. But overall, like as a whole, it's been okay. But this is probably the highlight of it so far.
Well, thank you much once again for the time. Congratulations on the run.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Alec Daffin coming away in the top 3. One more person stand on by here for a discussion. Jeff Maconi with Ron Mons.
Again, the opportunity to interview the boss man, Jeff. Welcome into the commentary booth, and well done on a valiant drive out there on the racetrack here at COTA tonight. Talk us through it.
Yeah, thank you. I am very surprised that I even managed to finish in the top 10. This is not one of my areas of expertise. Usually for me to have any sort of success at a road course in a stock car, I have to turn dozens and dozens and dozens of laps every single season that we go back, and I've been insanely busy these past couple weeks, and so I haven't had a chance until today to sit down and actually turn laps. The first race I did, I averaged 142.0 for the 13 laps, and then this race I averaged 140 even. So I was pretty happy with the improvement that I made from race 1 to race 2, and it was a ton of fun out there. But yeah, I knew as soon as I saw Parker White on there, I'm like, okay, we're all racing for second.
It certainly shook out that way, but it was still some really good battling all throughout the field. I want to ask you real quick about your thoughts on this new version of Circuit of the Americas. Certainly significantly shorter than the full version of the course, which in NASCAR racing always to me seemed a little bit too long. This short track road course, as some people have described it both in real life and in the sim, seeming to be a favorite. So what are your thoughts on this place?
I like certain features of it. I dislike others. I really, really, really like that braking zone where it was the long hairpin corner, and you were braking for probably, maybe 300 yards. Like, it was way far out that you had to start braking because you were going so fast, and that really opened up a big passing opportunity. So, and then you had that long straightaway afterwards, so they could battle back, and it was really cool to race there. But that little short shoot between the S's and what I think it re-enters at like turn 13 or something like that. But that area there is just so much fun. I that could be my favorite section of any road course, because you're coming off the S's, you go into the S's in third, and then you're wrestling between the second and third S to get it back down into second, and then you have that just super sharp left-hander. It's so easy to overdrive it, but when you hit it right, it feels so good. And then you can't just straight line those two little back and forth corners right before you hit the straightaway, and it's so technical. It's so much fun, and when you hit it right, I mean, it is like nothing else. I mean, it is crazy how good it feels when you nail that section, but it's so hard to do.
And you put on a pretty valiant drive considering you didn't get a whole lot of practice for this race. Certainly been very busy today, and very busy making a rather vital discovery that you shared in the other Maconi Entertainment Discord server earlier on. I am going to read this ad verbatim to all of you tuning into this broadcast on Maconi Entertainment this evening. This was from Jeff at 6:16 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here on Wednesday, March 5th of 2025. Y'all ever think about how buying Drano is literally pouring money down the drain? Have you been smoking any sort of substance that looks like the grass around this place?
So, the reason I've been so busy is we are in the process of buying another house, and so we're going to be moving here soon. So I'm getting this house ready, and so it's just been crazy. We're going to the bank, we're doing all this other stuff, and so part of that today, one of the sinks in the house has been clogging, and so I had to buy Drano, and I was putting it in, and I was like, I was talking to Bridget, and I said, man, it's just, this stuff is so expensive. It's like $7 a bottle, $8 a bottle. And it's like pouring money down the drain. And then I'm staring at it as it's going down the drain. I'm like, it is pouring money down the drain. I literally am. So that's why. So no, I haven't been smoking anything. It was just the passing thoughts that I share with the Maconi Entertainment staff an hour before I'm supposed to get in here and race instead of practicing.
The inner machinations of your mind are an enigma, Mr. Maconi, and I will leave it off at that. But Jeff, thank you so much for joining us in the commentary booth, and always good to have a chat with you at the end of these races.
Absolutely. Appreciate all the hard work from you guys on the broadcast this whole season. It was a really fun season, and I think I came out of this like 12th in points, so that's, I think, my 5th straight top 25 in points, something like that. I don't know. But yeah, awesome work in the booth, you guys. Appreciate it as always, and it was a really fun season.
Awesome. Always good to have a word with you, Jeff. Thank you for joining us.
Once again, that's Jeff Maconi rounding out our interviews. I'd like to thank him, Parker White, Jaco Phillips, Alec Daffin for taking the time to speak with us during post-race coverage here on Maconi Entertainment. Your final thoughts on the race tonight here, Ron, as the season comes to a close here for 2024 Season 2.
It was a tough dance for the drivers up and down the grid, but they managed it beautifully. That was a clean and exciting race all throughout. Some good battles through the midfield, a little bit farther towards the back and farther towards the front as well. Just a great way to bring this season to a close.
Absolutely. Now, on that note, it's time to say goodbye. I'd like to thank the race sponsor, Maconi Setup Shop, as well as you, the viewers, for tuning in. Calling the action tonight was myself, Justin Prince, alongside Ron Mons, with DJ Line producing. Thanks to our viewers for watching tonight's action. I hope you stay tuned to our social media pages for our next race. Thanks to the entire staff for their work in bringing this racing to you. This has been a production of Maconi Entertainment. We'll see you next time.